All right, muting.
You are listening to Big Trouble in Little Podcast. And here are your hosts, Joe Dubs and Andy.
Hello, Internet peeps. Welcome to another edition of Big Trouble in Little Podcast. I am Joe Dubs.
And I'm Andy, the coffee man.
The coffee man, and I am the soda man. Cuckoo, cuckoo. I don't know why I put Beatles in there, but whatever. Yeah, so welcome to episode 33. This week's episode, we will be talking about the movie of the week, which is The Outsider on Netflix, starring
Not The Outsiders, The Outsider. That is, I told a couple of people we were going to watch this movie, and they were like, The Outsiders? That 80s movie? I was like, I don't think so.
We should just fucking... I wish today was April Fool's, like, it'd be like, hey, we're watching The Outsiders, and then
we should have watched them both and been like, this is a shitty remake.
Fucking, but yeah, it's a Jared Leto movie. It's about fucking Japanese triads. Triad part's kind of awesome, but we'll talk about that in
the Yakuza triads are Chinese.
Oh yeah, my bad. The Yakuza. Fuck. I think I said triads last episode too. What the fuck?
Well, you fucked up.
Yep, I always fuck up. It's my middle name. But let's get right into it. Andy, what the hell you been playing, watching, or doing?
Nothing. More home improvement and stuff. I hung out with some friends the other night. We drank and watched The Witch again. Have you ever seen The Witch? It's a horror movie that came out a few years ago.
Is that how they spell witch with V and V?
Yeah.
No, but I've heard it's good.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like one of the scariest movies to come out in the last decade. But yeah, I'd seen it before, but it was fun to watch, and someone hadn't seen it before, so he had to see it. But yeah, that movie's great. And in between doing home improvement and tearing up carpet, I had to do without internet. The internet got shut off because it was getting moved from one person's name to my name. So while I was without the internet, I have Cowboy Bebop on Blu-ray, so I've been watching that. Even after I got the internet, now I'm wrapped up. Now I got to rewatch the whole series.
So how was it being off the grid for what was it, a day or two, or
like it was about a day and change. But it's weird. You always forget everything you do is reliant on the internet. It's like when I woke up in the morning, I wanted to look at the weather to see, should I wear something warmer? Oh, I can't. I don't have the internet. Oh, I can't watch anything. I don't have the internet. Oh, my computer's basically like I turned on my computer and was like, oh, I can't do anything.
I can't do Steam games. Damn it.
This whole thing is worthless.
Yeah. Oh, man. We're so reliant on the internet. It's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, looking back in the 90s and like early 2000s, we weren't really too into the internet. We had other means. But it's a good tool, none the least. And anything else you've been doing?
Nah. Have you been doing anything?
Besides working, Adam. Actually, me and Adam did a gaming podcast through an app while he was driving. By the way, there's this app called Audible, and you could connect with people, and you could pretty much do a podcast through your phone. So what he did is he set up microphones in his car, so he could have like a podcast. It's called Game Drive, and he just picks gaming topics. And I think the topic that we talked about was cross-platform and all that stuff about like Fortnite and what was that, Rocket League.
And Sony's a big boner about it.
Yeah, and what's the good things about it? I think my stance was I know that they want to have Sony wants to not give into the competition in a way. So that's why they're like, I'm bowing out of this cross-platform stuff. But anyways, I got the Xbox Game Pass for PC just to play Sea of Thieves.
That
And
game looks really cool.
it's cool, but it's 20% done, the game. I went into, because I tried it solo, and by the way, solo is really boring, and you get like a really small boat, and the ship mechanics are great.
I think I saw something about. I think Kotaku or someone had an article about how the game was good, but playing it by yourself is the worst.
Yeah, it's just horrible when you play it by yourself, but when you play with people, and like good people that work as a team, which is pretty rare these days on the internet, it's fun. The only thing is you got to make up your own journeys. There is no journey to go to, so there's like,
well, that's good in a way. I mean, Breath of the Wild was like that, right? In a way,
but when all the DLC and all the temples that you got to, there was stuff to do. And this is like they have islands and they have like booty and all that stuff, but the islands don't feel like lifeless at all. I mean, they have no life. So maybe in the future, where when games come out and they wait like a year, we'll get the full game in about a year. So I hate that game for services and all that shit.
Yeah,
I don't want to get into that thing again, but the Nintendo had a direct, had a bunch of nindies and all that stuff. Andy, you said what was that game that you're excited for?
Oh, Lumines HD, whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, so I didn't really get look into that, but you know what? That's more fucking Switch game, people. More games for ourselves.
Of course, May is going to be impossible because, of course, Lumines comes out in May, as does Dark Souls and that new Street Fighter like bundle situation, and I can't remember some other stuff. But God damn it, they got to cluster it all right there in 1 month. I can't get it all.
I want to get the South Park game on Switch.
That's next month.
And then man, there's so many fucking games. But yeah, that's what the hell I've been doing. Working, pirating, and the good pirating, by the way, not the the movies. But yeah, this is kind of like the calm before the E3 storm and all that stuff. I mean, Far Cry 5 is coming out soon. I want to play that game.
Yeah, the game looks cool. I like the setting.
Yep, Montana. But other than that, I think we should start getting into our movie of the week, which is The Outsider, starring Jared Leto.
Yep.
First thing I want to get out of the way on that, Jared Leto, to me, played okay. I just never really cared for his character at all.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I used to not like him as an actor very much either, but he was excellent in Blade Runner. So now I was like, oh, okay, so he's pretty good. And in this movie, it's not like he's a bad actor. He's just boring. Plus, he has like a weird face. I mean, this stuff has nothing to do with his acting ability. And it's not weird bad. It's like he's handsome, but his face is weird. And the way he dresses and wears his hair in this movie, I kept seeing the main character in Mindhunter. Looked just like him.
I kept on thinking of him when he was in American Psycho. When the guy that Christian Bale kills in his house or apartment.
Oh, I forgot that was him.
Yeah. I kept on seeing that, and I was like, oh, it's him.
Well, what's this movie about first?
It's post World War II. Nick, who is Jared Leto, is a prisoner of war, I'm guessing.
I suppose they don't elaborate on it much. It's like 1954 or something, so the war's been over for a little bit, but he's in a Japanese prison. He's like the only white prisoner there, but they never really explain what he was imprisoned in Osaka for. And it's revealed later that the U.S. Army thinks he's dead, I guess.
Yeah, that scene was kind of weird. But, like, the prison scene, the only things that were happening is he saved the guy from getting hanged. which was confusing to me because another scene happens where he has to kind of kill himself in order to get out so he can go to a hospital. But when he was being hanged, do you think he was asking other people, "Hey, I'm trying to hang myself. Try to help me and call for the guards," and they just walked out of the room?
Oh no, I assumed it was rival Yakuza trying to kill him.
Yeah, because they did have the tattoos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And then that's why I was confused with the other scene where he cuts his stomach and stuff, and he's like, "You got to call the guards. You got to save my life, and then I'll get you out," and all that stuff. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much the whole prison scene. Nothing really happens besides the first part where the guy is hanged. Who was that, by the way? Was that Kyoshi? I think so. I don't know, one of the Japanese names, but one of the Japanese Yakuzas were hanged, and they go to the warden, and they just start beating on them. I was like, holy shit! What? Why was it like what? The warden was kind of pissed that he saved the guys, being hanged. Did you feel that too? By the
Yeah, I
way,
mean, he's definitely pissed off. I just assumed it was because the warden knows the Yakuza does what they want or something. I don't know.
yeah, but
They like the police are scared of the Yakuza or organized crime or whatever, so they
mhm,
kind of do what they want in here.
yeah. They don't really go into the origin much of like Yakuza, but they kind of show like the territories and the like.
The Yakuza are centuries old, though.
hmm It's really cool in this movie how they portray the Yakuzas and all that stuff. It's kind of more like a family in a way. Like the boss is called the father or something. But yeah. So he gets out of the prison pretty much because he saves one of the Yakuzas, and this whole film is Nick trying to fit in with the Yakuza family, and they consider him an outsider because he's American, and all that stuff.
He's a gaijin.
The gaijin, and that part at the end was pretty cool with the guy. Um, but they really don't go into too much like American hate because we fucking bombed their country and shit. Like they kind of is like, oh, he's American, ew, and all that stuff. But then there's other Japanese who are like, well, he's a nice guy. Like they were doing that a little bit. I don't want to go into too much because it was a 2-hour movie. Um, but he kind of there was like a love story in there that I really didn't care for. Did you care for that at all?
That's a slow part of the movie. I remember from the beginning up until he meets what's her name, Mew or something like that.
Miyu?
From the beginning until he meets her, it's an interesting movie, and then I got bored like immediately. Like boredom hit me like a cinder block, and I was like, oh, God damn it, are they really like the other guy that he's talking to, his buddy Kyoshi, he's talking to a woman, and I swear he hadn't said 3 words to her yet, and I said, oh, this is going to be his sister or something. And Jared Leto's character is going to fall in love with her. And sure enough, that's exactly what fucking happened. I was, oh my God, I was so pissed off. It's so boring and predictable, and nothing really comes of it. Like, I mean, I guess it gives him a reason to want to stay in town, and that's what they were going for. But they could have done the same thing with him just wanting to become part, camaraderie with the Yakuza or something, or maybe they were giving him, he wanted the authority or he wanted money or something like that. But God, it's stupid.
I just the whole Jared Leto character was just like have emotion. Like yeah, he had emotion for the sister, but then again, he's like
Barely.
You're beautiful, and he's like
He doesn't act, he doesn't show emotion, and he doesn't really have any lines. Like the scene where that lieutenant spots him, and apparently he used to be a captain in the lieutenant's platoon or whatever, not platoon,
unit.
whatever unit. He knew him, and he starts talking to him. Jared Leto's character says like nothing in that scene. Like that could have been a really interesting scene, but he just acts like an asshole. And I get it. Like he doesn't want to talk to the guy, and he's trying to just like, okay, whatever, man. I gotta go. Your 5 minutes is up. But that scene could have been interesting, and instead it was boring, and I just wanted it to end.
But that scene was kind of weird too, because they were, walking away from, I forgot what an important scene of like two Yakuza bosses talking to each other, and that lieutenant like says, "Hey, it's Nick fucking this guy. I thought you were dead," and all that stuff, and like Jared Leto's character was looking at the group, his Yakuza group, like walking away like it was important. And then he's like, all right, I guess I'm going to hang out with you. And then when the guy's like, well, I'm going to go tell, our buddies that you're still alive. He's like, man, now I got to kill this guy. And then they just cut to the scene of him going back to his apartment. I'm just like, there was no repercussions of Jared Leto character going away from the group. Like they never mentioned it at all. Maybe it was just...
They could have done something way more interesting where, I mean, that could have been the plot hook, is that he doesn't want to go back, and maybe they find out he's alive or something. I don't know. I feel like there was more interesting stuff to do with this movie than what they did. Like, that being said, like we've talked about it for a while. At the beginning of this movie, I fucking loved it. Like it's not a particularly good movie. It's like the direction and the camera work and stuff is like middle of the road. Who
Music
cares?
was great.
Music was pretty good. The setting, and for the most part, like the bare bones, the structure of the story, I love. The setting is really interesting, and the story, for the most part, like the fact that he saves this Yakuza, and now the guy is trying to help him out by giving him a job and stuff. That's interesting too. Like that idea, I really like. In the beginning of this movie, I remember I looked at the reviews for this movie before I watched it, which I usually don't do. It was I was looking it up because I was trying to convince a friend to maybe watch it and then listen to this too.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently on like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb and stuff, it's got an awful score. Like, and I saw that, I was like, uh-oh, is this movie going to be just garbage? And I was watching at the beginning, I was like, I love this movie. This movie's great. Why does everyone hate it? But by the end of it, I was starting to like see some, chinks in its armor. But I don't know if we want to jump to the ending yet, but I fucking hate the ending to this movie.
I hate the ending too.
It ruined, like the movie wasn't brilliant, but it was really enjoyable and really interesting. And then in the last like 10 minutes, this movie just becomes, I was just pissed off. I was like, wow, that was fucking stupid. The end of this movie is dumb.
Yeah, and this is a very like dialogue heavy movie. I think that's why it was like 2 hours, and they kind of had to draw out like this Nick character that we didn't really care about and just wanted to see where it ended up and all that stuff.
Yeah, like the splash image on Netflix for this movie is like some guys yelling and the Nick character, Jared Leto, holding a katana. And you're like, oh, cool, there's going to be like fights and stuff in this movie. He holds that katana one fucking scene in this movie.
Mm-hmm. And how I can describe this movie, it's kind of like Goodfellas without the comedy. And because Jared Leto is like, he's like, in Goodfellas, he's like the half Irish and half Italian guy. And he's just trying to fit into like the mafia. Same with Jared Leto being like, this American trying to go into Yakuza and everything. And he's kind of doing like low jobs. It's like, all right, I need you to go up to this American person at the docks and, beat him up and tell him that we want your shit or something like that.
That was another scene where I could have done with more dialogue from Nick. Like, they only talk for like a minute.
Yeah, I want to think that they were trying to portray Nick as like post-traumatic stress of going through the war and then going through that prison.
They're trying to show that he's violent, I guess, and they got that across.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Yakuza boss liked him a lot, is because we could use him and use that violence to our advantage.
Yeah, some of the other characters, Orochi, for instance, are like, why is he still around? He served his purpose. Like, they just wanted him to deal with a couple problems. But then some people start liking him, specifically the boss.
Mm-hmm. and that's where the quote unquote villain guy, I forgot his name. Was it Orochi? I think.
Yeah, Orochi's the traitor, and they really spoon feed that to you. Like he's the one that I don't know if he's carrying a torch for or what, but he like comes on to Miyu and almost rapes her, but doesn't. And he's the guy that is like whispering in Kyoshi's ear about how Nick slept with his sister and stuff. And it's like, could it be any more obvious that that guy was going to be the bad guy? Like, couldn't they have had a mystery? Couldn't they have had like someone's a traitor, and then at the end when he walks out, you're like, oh shit, it's that guy? But no, it was super obvious the whole movie is, oh, that guy's the bad guy. I fucking hate him.
Yeah, there was parts where I was just like, oh, they're telegraphing, certain things that are going to be happening at the end of the movie. And that kind of got me pissed off because looking at the time limit, it's like 2 hours, and I'm like, oh, I already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the movie isn't like written to be super smart. That's fine. It's entertaining, but I mean, for the setting and the subject matter, the kind of people it's going to attract, I really think you could have added a couple more layers to it.
mhm.
I mean, they should have just nixed the whole romantic nonsense and doubled down on like inter-family Yakuza squabbling and traitors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Miyu, I got to say, is really beautiful. I will say that.
I mean, yeah, beautiful actress, and she did a good job too. Like, I like the scenes where he's getting a tattoo and they're sitting there talking. You know, the few times that Nick shows emotion in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he smiles, finally. Yeah, I think that's the first time he smiled in the movie.
And it's a shame. Like, I hate that character, but she did a good job playing that character. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I did like. I liked it, and I was like, I turned away every time they were cutting their fingers for the.
I like that scene.
I was like, oh my god. They're like the pinky. I'm like, oh, it's only the pinky, and then all of a sudden it's like middle finger. I'm like, no, what the fuck? And then Kyoshi is like, I'll do it with my brother too, and I was like, that's cool. That there was a bond between him and Nick. And did you notice Kyoshi's like voice like changed a little bit during the movie? Like he had like a soft voice, and then he had like that, and like got really deep. Did you notice that, or is that just me?
Not really.
Oh, I like the one good part I liked was I almost said try it again, the Yakuza war that they were having between the two families.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool, especially the scene where Kyoshi and Nick were in this like clothing store, and like the worker was trying to kill the boss. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy. And then all of a sudden, this is the sad part where Kyoshi gets killed, pretty much, where the war actually starts. The other family comes in and just shoots the shit out of him.
Yeah, that sucks. I kind of assumed someone was going to have to get killed so that they could motivate Nick to be super into this war or whatever, but I don't know.
I have a question though. Like, that scene was weird too, because you had two shooters. You had two guys with guns. One guy could have shot the guy in the driver's seat, and then the other guy could have shot either Nick or the other the boss and all that stuff. So I was like, man, were they just aiming for Kyoshi? Or
I think so. I think they assumed the guy inside had done his job and killed the boss. I don't know. Like, I think they were supposed to just kill Kyoshi and Nick, and like Nick laid down in the car to cover the boss, so maybe they missed him or they didn't see him because they're probably in a hurry. They want to shoot and get the hell out of there as fast as they can.
Yeah. Another scene before we talk about the ending and stuff. Another bonding moment between Kyoshi and Nick, because Kyoshi's like, get away from my fucking sister, because when you're in Yakuza, you can't be close and love somebody because they can get hurt and all that stuff. But eventually, Nick does, fuck Miyu, and they're gonna have a baby. So Kyoshi's like, all right, you could be with her now. And he said he talked about his father when he before he passed away. I think he gave him like two katanas or something like that.
A katana and a wakizashi. He gave him his daisho.
Yeah, one was like to kill somebody, and the other one was to suicide and all that stuff.
When you do the ritual suicide, I think you cut your belly with the wakizashi, and then your second lops your head off with the katana. I think I've seen a couple different versions of it. I just know this from movies.
Mm-hmm. So he's like, I was supposed to protect my sister, and now since you're having a baby and a family, it's your turn to protect. And I thought that was a beautiful scene. Again, Jared Leto was like, okay, like, like the whole even going there, he's like, I betrayed you, and he's like, she's gonna have a baby. Like his dialogue was so stupid, but I'm thinking he was having that PTSD kind of thing, and that's how he is. Maybe that's how it was written in the movie. But anyway, kind of going on to the ending scene, the other family sends this kid messenger to them and says, hey, come to this neutral territory, and we'll talk this out, we'll have peace in our war. So he tell the boss that is in Nick's family says, yeah, sure, we'll be there, we'll talk it out. And that's where you find out about Orochi being the traitor. It's like, oh, I saw that coming from a mile away. And all of a sudden, Orochi and what is the guy's name? I keep on saying the boss.
Which boss? The good one or the bad one?
The good one.
Was it Seizu or was that the bad guy?
I don't know, but anyway, they were hugging because he's like, I want, you're always gonna be family to me. And then Orochi takes out a knife and stabs him in the back. And then out of nowhere, the rest of the bad Yakuza family comes out and like points a gun at them because they were all like about to run and fight. And what do you think of that scene? Because I was like,
the scene itself looks cool. It's one of the few scenes in the movie that's shot interestingly, but it's the prelude to the dumbness. Like,
it sets up.
I understand he was trying to be old fashioned and trust the guy and stuff, but he had like no reciprocal plan or anything like that. He wasn't going to. Like, I know he said no guns, but I mean, it seems like, come on, man, you're at war. Why would you do this? He should have had like a sharpshooter or something like that. I mean, I'm not like a Yakuza general or anything, but the scene looks cool and it's interesting and it progressed. I thought it was going to progress the Yakuza war plot, but really after this scene, the movie just shits and falls back in it.
Yeah.
Because like he avenges, I'm using air quotes, the boss dying, I guess, and everyone else who doesn't join the rival Yakuza clan does nothing. Like they do nothing. They just like guard the woman, I guess. They just stay behind. It's fucking stupid. The scene is cool and it could have progressed the plot, but instead it just cuts the plot off. It says, oh, no, we're done being cool. That's the end of this. We're going to wrap this all up with the dumbest conclusion you've ever seen to a movie. And then the credits are over.
Yeah, and it kind of sets up for a fucking sequel, and I'm just like, why? Like,
no, I don't. That'd be dumb. No, I don't want to see where that went.
And it kind of like, what happens is he, as Andy said, he gets that revenge of both the boss and also fucking Kaishu. Like that's the revenge factor of going after Orochi. So he goes into the other Yakuza's like headquarters or house and stuff, and he brings the katana. And I guess they're in a dojo.
They're in a dojo, and they're doing, like, you'll remember when they were in the woods, they both drank from the same cup, and that made him his son.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing a version of that so that Orochi becomes an official part of the rival Yakuza clan from wherever.
Yeah. So pretty much Jared Leto goes there and he says, I want to kill Orochi, give him a weapon, be a man, don't be a pussy, pretty much. And Orochi like goes up to him and he says, "You're a gaijin, you will always be an outsider. I will not fucking fight you." And then to me this was like disrespectful, but then again the other family was disrespectful too, not having any honor by killing the other boss. Jared Leto just takes the fucking katana and slices his throat, and the the guy's like, "Yeah, just get out."
I guess because Orochi was acting like a coward or something, but I racked my brain. I can't figure out why they let Nick leave. I have no idea. That's stupid. And it's dumb because, I wasn't expecting a huge fight. Like, there wasn't any huge fights in the rest of the movie. I wasn't expecting, like, a huge production of, like, him running around the house and katana fighting all these guys. I know that wasn't going to happen, but it's still got to make sense, movie. That's still, I don't get it at all.
Yeah, I was like, man, well, they have to know what's going to be happening, because at the end he goes back to Miyu and the rest of the Yakuza family, and it kind of portrays that Jared Leto is now the new leader,
which is the crown jewels on the stupidness that is the end of this movie.
Yeah, because
they're all just like standing around. She's sitting on a bed in the middle of the room, and they're standing around her in a semicircle, guns drawn, protecting her, I guess, or something stupid. They all just stayed behind instead of all of them going to the dojo and like doing something about it. And for some reason, he's the one that they let go. They had all known Kiyoshi and the boss way longer than Nick had, like probably most of their lives. But for some reason, none of them are motivated to revenge. They let Nick, the outsider, do it, which I realized that they'd all come to like him and everything, they'd accepted him, but it still makes no sense. They should have all gone. It would have been cool if the Kiyoshi character was still alive and maybe he had used a katana to kill Orochi, maybe something like that.
I think that would have had more damage than what Nick did.
Yeah, and like then they would have had to fight their way out. Maybe their Kiyoshi would have died or something. But yeah, they would have had to like get back out, and it would have been a much more interesting climax, and it would have made a little more sense, I guess. Again, it's a fiction; it can do whatever it wants. But I think this ending was ridiculous.
Shit.
I hate it.
It was really shit. And what I've been reading, it was a cliffhanger to kind of leave open for a possible sequel.
Oh, don't bother.
And I'm just like, no, because again, this is a 2-hour movie. It was long. It was drawn out. I did too like the setting, and I just didn't care for the characters besides Kiyoshi and Miyu.
Yeah.
I thought they were the stars. And again, Nick was just like, "Hi guys, I'm that white guy in your Yakuza group." So I sadly do have to not recommend this movie to anybody.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the beginning of this movie, but like 2 weeks ago we watched The Ritual, and at the beginning of that movie I was bored, but the last 20 minutes of The Ritual are great. Like the monster's great, and there's a cool chase and stuff. So if you put on the movie and you just kind of like screwing around on your phone, or you're talking to a friend and you were both kind of watching this movie, you would enjoy the ending. But because the ending of this movie is so awful, I can't recommend it at all. Like the beginning is good, but with no payoff, it's worthless. Don't watch this movie.
Yes. And yeah, don't bother with this 2-hour boringness.
Yeah, this 2-hour shame. I was reading about this movie last night after I watched it. I got super excited and disappointed that originally, Michael Fassbender and some other director were going to do this movie, and they couldn't. And then Takashi Miike was going to direct this movie, and he would have saved the hell out of this movie, I think, because he would have turned it into a ridiculous like sword fight at the end and a bunch of other interesting stuff. And the star was going to be played, or the main character was going to be played by Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy was going to be directed by Takashi Miike in this setting, 1954 Osaka, Yakuza, white guy trying to work with the Yakuza. That would have been a great movie, I think. But, and then both of them couldn't do it. And then they got Jared Leto, who, like I said, I was trying to end up liking after Blade Runner, but couldn't. And I don't know what this director's doing. Hang on.
Martin Zandvoort.
Zandvoort.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's from Denmark.
Yeah, he did a lot of indie films.
Recognize.
There's Land of Mine, The Funny Man, Applause. It looks like a bunch of indie films.
It's got a bunch of awards. Oh, well, they're all Danish. The other films must be foreign.
The cinematography and everything was great in this movie.
It was okay. It was passable.
Yeah, I love the music. At the end when the music was going, I was like, "That's good," but just a shitty scene. Next week's movie, Andy. What are you picking?
I've half forgotten what it's called. In This Corner of the World. It is also on Netflix. It was added in this most recent round of movies that they were adding. It is an animated movie from Japan from 2016. I know next to nothing about it except that it won a fuck ton of awards, and it got an extremely limited theatrical release in the United States. But when it did, I kind of Googled it to see if I wanted to watch it on the show. Bunch of critics thought it was great and blah, 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 blah. It also takes place in post-war Japan, so it'll be kind of an interesting look, after watching The Outsider. Now we're going to watch something, now for something completely different, but not, or no, I take that back. It's set in the 30s and the 40s, but mainly in 1944 to 1945. So not the same time period, but same place. It's in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I did like Japan during those times. Like, I'm actually interested in.
Yeah, it should. As long as this movie doesn't make me fireflies, then that's okay.
Yeah. So remember to watch the movie and then come watch listen to episode 34 of Big Trouble in Little Podcast and see what we think about it. Just how we thought of The Outsider, which was it's a bad movie. Don't go see it.
Yeah, don't bother.
Yeah. All right, let's head into some news that matter to us. I found a couple of news that we could talk about. One disappointing movie that Hollywood likes to do is reboot movies.
Boo.
And they are going to reboot Men in Black. Which apparently is going to have the cast of Thor Ragnarok, which is going to have Chris Hemsworth in it. And
doing what? What role is he?
I'm guessing Agent K. I mean, if you're going to have that, black and white kind of thing going on, I guess
they don't necessarily have to.
They don't have to, but if they were going to reboot and kind of keep it the same, I mean,
one of them needs to be like a grizzled alien veteran guy, and the other one has to be, I guess, a hard-nosed street cop. I guess
it'd be.
He'll probably end up being like an ex-Marine or something.
Yeah, they say Thor Ragnarok cast is going to be in it. All I see is Chris Hemsworth. So in this article, what are they talking about? I guess they're going to have some people in it, I guess. Wait. I think I found something. No, it just says the Iron Man screenwriter. By the way, the guy who directed Iron Man, he's doing the...
Favreau.
Yeah, he's doing Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah, I did know that.
The TV shows, and people were pissed about that because...
Why? I feel like that's a good match.
It's a good match. I'm just talking about, like, social justice warriors because he's white and there's no diverse and stuff, and I'm just like... Disney's all about diversity. Shut up. Yeah, in this article, it just pretty much says Chris Hemsworth's going to be in a reboot.
Yeah, they're going to make a shitty Men in Black reboot. It'll have a bunch of high-budget effects, but it won't have, like... There's something about the tone of the original Men in Black that no one has ever been able to replicate. Not the sequels, not any other movie. It's got that real quirky, weird, like... not pulpy, but it's I don't know,
Oh,
it's something. It's something only Men in Black had, and they won't have it. They'll fuck it up.
oh, okay. I see what you're going in this article, by the way. It's gonna be a male and a female role. It's gonna have Tessa Thompson, who played Valkyrie in the Thor Ragnarok, and then Chris Hemsworth. So they're going with the male-female kind of reboot for Men in Black,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense because Men in Black. But I know there was women in there too. But
People in black.
yeah, people in black. The second news story, a real quick mention. It's just been blown up for the past week because of GDC. Is Atari VCS. Now, if you're wondering what Atari VCS is, it's the Atari box. They changed their name because the nostalgia or something like that. Because apparently it was part of the Atari 2600, if I'm correct. I don't know. I'm not into the Atari consoles. But if you were wondering what this is, it's a glorified Ouya. You get to play indie games and you get to play old Atari games. Nothing was said about having any type of new games like or AAA games like Call of Duty or anything that would be on the system.
Basically, it's worthless.
Yeah, and the price point apparently is either $200 to $300, and it's an expensive Ouya indie machine.
How much were Ouyas? They were like 200. Weren't they?
What?
How much was an Ouya? Weren't they about 200 something?
I think 150. I think.
Well, it's dumb. It's going to have a bunch of games that you can already play on an Android tablet, except you have to connect it to a TV. And it's also going to have a bunch of 40-year-old Atari games on it. Whoop-de-doo.
It's just a failed market, and I don't understand why Atari wanted to do this. And I bet you when they had their little Indiegogo or whatever Kickstarter they had in the beginning, is like people probably thought that they were actually getting another console that is going to be in the console war.
Yeah, they should have made a console, and they should have got developers to make games for it. But no, they just want to make a stupid set-top box that isn't even as good as other set-top boxes, that does a bunch of stuff that tablets already do, but it doesn't even do it as good as those tablets do.
Yeah. So you might have a couple of people that buy it, or maybe a couple hundred, but it's not going to be big at all. Unless there's something they're hiding or planning in the future that's going to be like, oh, this shit's going to be amazing. But to me, nothing really looks good about this. And people think it's an Ouya machine, and it's just not going to go anywhere. That's my opinion. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. It
looks cool. I'll give it that.
Yeah, the controllers look cool. One looks like an Xbox controller, and then they had the old school joystick.
I like the design of the console itself too. It's got the wood grain on the front, and then like a bunch of parallel lines. Like, it looks cool. It's dumb.
Mm-hmm. Any other news that you seen?
No, I've barely looked at the news, and like I said, it was without internet for a bit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, not all week, but yeah, I haven't really seen much worth talking about. We're at a slow period for both games and movies, because movies don't ramp up until around spring, summer. They want all the big movies to come out. Avengers got bumped up to April, I guess. That'll be the beginning of the big movies.
Well, quick news right here: Nintendo will host the Smash Brothers Switch tournament in June during E3.
Of course they will. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the Switch Joy-Con is getting a D-pad from Hori, so there's gonna be a D-pad on the Joy-Con instead of that 4-button thing.
Is that an official Nintendo add-on, or is that a Hori product?
It's a Hori product, and Hori's pretty good. So
yeah, Hori's great. I want that.
Yeah,
they better come in cool colors.
Nothing really on the news. The one game I'm looking forward to, since we watched The Outsider and all this Japanese stuff, is that Japanese game from Sony. I forgot what it was called. It had like samurai shit.
Oh yeah, Ghost of
War.
Sumaki. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that game at E3, because they're gonna show it. But yeah, I think that's going to conclude our episode 33 of Big Trouble Little Podcast. Remember to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are also on iTunes and Podbean. Podbean's link is btilp.podbean.com. We also have a Twitter, which is btilpod, and we are streaming on Twitch with my username, which is New Dubs Order. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week for our movie of the week in this corner of the world. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a good day.
See you next week. Thanks for listening.